I see her. I see the name.
I'm here.
There we go.
Hi, Mo.
Hi.
Hi, how's everybody?
We are doing fantastic. Happy New Year.
Now tell me real quick, where are you guys? I lost my little sheet that told me that.
So a lot of us are in Minnesota. We are out at Lake Minnetonka. I know there's a few other places that are here as well. If you guys want to share your locations.
So are all of you from Minnesota?
Fargo, North
From
Dakota.
Oh,
New Jersey?
okay. Did somebody say they were from Oklahoma? No.
just you, Mo.
Just you.
We have some Fargo, North Dakota.
Okay, Fargo.
Chicago.
Now, is this a group? What group are you?
So we are a region, and then we have some other guests that are joining as well because they're excited to kind of hear what you have to say for us. So we want to start out by saying thank you. Some of us are newer to the company. So would you mind if I gave you a little introduction?
Sure.
Awesome. So for some of you that may be new or don't know Mo, she has been kind of the cornerstone and created the culture in KW. KW Cares was launched during her watch, as well as Red Day, our annual day of serving communities, in honor of her birthday each year. In case you have been at Keller, that is actually in honor of her birthday. So we should all say happy birthday at the same time. She's currently co-owner and vice chairman of the board of Keller Williams Realty International and continues to be a valuable part of KW leadership team. She was born to a family of tenant farmers in rural Oklahoma. In 2018, she was actually named Oklahoma Hall of Fame along with Carrie Underwood. So if you don't know Mo, I'm sure you know Carrie as well. So she shared her journey in a book that she wrote, actually, a Joy-Filled Life. And she was also named one of the top most influential leaders in real estate. So everybody knows Gary Keller, and he refers to her as the mother of business. And with her experience in real estate and journey from the farm roots in Oklahoma, it's taught her a thing or two of the importance of mindset and being grateful. So with that being said, we are here to listen to everything you have to tell us about mindset this year.
Oh, Mo, I need to ask you to unmute, darling.
There we go.
There we go.
Well, first of all, I want to tell you that I lived through a really bad siege of COVID. I was sick for a month, and I was so excited because I really thought I was through with it and past it. And all of a sudden, I developed rather quickly, a week before Christmas, what the laboratory calls a COVID rash. I'd heard of it, but I knew that only 8% of the people who get COVID develop that rash. So I'm going to show you what that rash looks like. I'm going to show you my arm. It is so painful, and I need you all to pray for me because it is really bad. And can you
Oh,
see
I'm
it?
so sorry.
And it's all over me, front and back. It covers my rear end. It's hard to sit down. And now it's moving down toward my thighs. And the problem with it is I've been to all these doctors, and they look at me and they say, "We've never seen this before. We don't know what to do." So today we're calling the Mayo Clinic because that's where I had my new heart valve done in June, and I just love that place. I go to Rochester, Minnesota. Anybody from Rochester on this call?
We do have a few from Rochester.
Well, we're calling them today to find out if there's anybody in Rochester who knows how to treat it, and because it is really, really painful. So I'm not out of the woods yet, and I need y'all to remember me in your prayers that I got about 50% of my energy back, and you all who know me know I'm an Energizer bunny. And I thought, oh, I'm really on my way back. And then this hit. And instead of it getting better, it's just getting worse and worse. So there's a silver lining in it somewhere. And I hope I live to see it.
You will, and we are
Oh,
definitely
yeah,
thinking of
I'm
you.
not worried about that. Okay, you wanted me to talk today about a mindset, I think.
Yep.
What you wanted me to talk about. And it's really been interesting. I've done very few calls since I had COVID, and I've had my first calls today, and I think you're.
Oh, Mo, you went back on mute. Mo? Mo, you're still on mute. I can't unmute. Mo?
Mo, can you unmute, please? I'm sorry.
Am I unmuted now?
Now you are, yes.
Yes, you are. Thank you.
What was I saying when you left off?
Right when you started, you had been on mute in regards to mindset and your.
Okay, and it was really interesting how everybody's mindset has been affected by all of the stuff that happened last year. And there are a lot of agents who are really going to have to work on this because they lost their positive, or a bit of their positive mindset when all the bad stuff happened, the disease and wearing the masks. And in some states, our agents couldn't sell real estate, and on and on and on and on it goes. So this is something really pertinent right now. So I want to ask you, what is your mindset at the present moment about your life, about real estate, whatever? What's your mindset? Somebody unmute and tell me.
I'll tell you.
Okay, great.
I'm really actually very, very excited. I'm putting into place the systems like I never have before. And this 2021 is going to be my year. And I'm saying, thank you, Jesus, let's go.
Now, why did you feel it was so important to put in the systems at a higher level than you ever have before?
Because I had been resisting it up to this point, always kind of letting me off the hook with, I'm not a numbers gal. I just, that's not me. I'd rather color code everything than keep track of stuff. And it only went so far. And I knew that if I was going to get anywhere and stop the frustration that I was feeling and creating for everybody around me, right, Wendy? then I needed to change something. And when I was able to go into Kami's office and she asked me how I was doing, and I broke into tears, and she took it and helped me walk through the business plan and everything like that. I'm setting myself up to do well.
So that is great. So
I'm
you've
excited.
got a great mindset to start the beginning of this year.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I had a lot of help along the way. So
Anybody else want to share your mindset as a result of stuff that's happened this year? Okay, nobody does.
I'll share.
Oh, great. Jessica, share.
So I think that the biggest thing for me is amidst the pandemic and how well I'm a PC coach and how well the agents did, and the Q4 numbers, you know, and how they showed up, and then also implementing the 12-week year. You know, that's the biggest thing, and that is a huge part of my mindset. And then you know, laying that forward for the agents in my program. We're doing map to cap, so the goal is to cap in 12 weeks. And so it's super exciting. And then also, you know, like me being accountable to my numbers too, you know, and leading by example. So I think that's one thing that I haven't done in the past. And so going out there and saying, here's my numbers, here's what I'm trying to hit, and you know, being right along there with them.
That is awesome. What you're saying is awesome. Now, did you have to work on your mindset at all during this past year? What if you were a mother that had to homeschool your children? Did you have to work on mindset?
I think that was mindset and patience, Mo. There was a
Mindset.
lot of patience in the distance learning.
Well, there are several truths about mindset that I really want you to know and understand. The first time Gary Keller ever taught Quantum Leap, I was there and heard him teach it. And he had a section on mindset in the book that changed my life. It was just so good. And I looked at the Quantum Leap book in the middle of COVID, and I saw that in the revisions of it, they had left those sections out about mindset. So I called Gary and I said, let me tell you what, I've been working with different groups and offices on Zoom with the mindset message. And Gary, it's not in the book anymore. Get it back in the book. So he promised me he would. I don't know, you know, if they've had a chance to do it yet. But he had a little section in there on the 4 truths about mindset. So I want you to get your pencils and papers, and I want you to write these 4 truths that I'm going to give you, and I'm going to give you a personal example for each truth. And as I give my personal example, I want you to think of a personal example so that you can go home and teach the 4 truths of mindset to your older children, you know, like your 15, 16, 17-year-olds, or your oldest grandchildren. If you happen to have grandchildren, because when you practice these 4 truths, or you understand these 4 truths, it's pretty incredible what can happen in your life. So the first one that I want to give you, truth number 1, by changing the inner attitude, excuse me, by changing the inner attitudes of your mind, by changing the inner attitudes of your minds, you can change the outer aspect of your life. Now, here's my example for that story. In the beginning of COVID, I had an agent from Michigan call me. I knew him, and he gave me a call, and he said, Mo, I don't think I'll ever be able to take another listing in my life with this COVID thing going on. How in the world am I going to feed my family? I've been doing so well. In other words, he was just devastated because all of this happened. And so I encouraged him, and I encouraged him to believe that he would be able to do even better during COVID because the interest rates were the lowest they've been in the history of the world. And there are still people who need to move up into larger homes, and there are still people who need to move down into smaller homes. So it kind of got him a little bit motivated. And then I shared with him what I'm going to share with you. And after he had written down all 4 truths about mindset, he said, Mo, I have changed my mind. And I hope it will change the outer aspect of my life. I hope. And I said, well, it won't until you believe it will. So he said, okay, I'm going to try to get 10 listings next week by calling my sphere of influence and really working that. So he worked for a week doing nothing but calling his sphere of influence. And he called me back a week later and he said, Mo, I've gotten 11 listings instead of 10. And I have not walked into any of the 11 houses. Now, how did he do that? Somebody unmute and answer me. How did he do that?
Virtual presentations.
He did it through all of the technology, yes, through virtual presentations and so on. He did it through command. He did it through other stuff I think he had. I'm not sure what it was. But the point is, no matter what happens to you, even if they lock you in your house and you can't go outside, you can still list a property through all of the technology that Gary and the team have worked so hard to develop for us. Although it doesn't work as perfectly maybe as we'd like it to, it's getting better every day. And then, so he did 11 instead of 10. I just thought that was remarkable. And that launched him to do amazing during all this bad stuff that's happened politically, nationally, COVID, all of it. And he has had the best year in the history of his life because he did change his mindset. He no longer said, I hope it will change the outer aspect of my life. I believe if I contact my entire sphere of influence through talking to these people, I'll discover if they need to move up or need to move down, need to refinance, what it is they need. I will meet their needs and I will do good. So he had a real change of mind. Are you with me?
I think we're
Okay.
all,
Yes,
we're all
ma'am.
in shock a little bit, Mo, that someone who said they couldn't list another home ever again listed 11 in that short of a time period.
Right. And it was all through work. I couldn't understand that person. And it was all because he was willing to change his mind. See, we first have to be willing to change our minds before our mind can actually decide to change. And I was so, thrilled that he got the concept and did so well. Now I want to share with you truth number 2. Now, have you thought about what your story might be on number 1? Because you're going to go home and teach this to whoever in your family or whoever's older. Because kids need to learn this, not little ones, but older ones like 16, 17-year-olds. So anybody have a story where you changed your mind and it changed the outer aspect of your life?
I'll share, Mo. I just got into this team lead role in November. And as you know, it was the time of year where every recruiter called every single agency. So I was getting hit up against a lot of, you're the 5th, 6th phone call, I'm not moving. And I actually had a conversation with my ALC and I told him about the struggle a little bit. And one of the agents said, why don't you just call and just say, you know what, happy holidays and how can I help? So I kind of shifted. I shifted my mindset on what the phone call and what the purpose of it was. And interesting enough, I also did this in front of my children. We had a night where mom was calling these agents. And my middle daughter was in shock when people would hang up the phone on me and was actually very sad for me. My oldest one finally set one appointment after about, I would say 18 calls and maybe 6 or 8 contacts. And I got super excited. We got the one appointment and she looked over at me and goes, you said you wanted 2. And it was like that moment of mindset shift of, you're right, I did say I wanted to. And, ever since then, it's been very much, how can I help these agents no matter what brokerage they're with?
That is a great story. So see, as we go through this, you need your own stories, because when you teach your nephews or nieces or your kids or your grandkids, it'll really be more real to them if you tell your own personal story. So let's go to, that was great, Cammie, I love that. Let's go to truth number 2. Truth number 2. When your mind really believes something to be true, when your mind really believes something to be true, it stimulates your senses. It stimulates your senses to draw to you, the things, people, and circumstances to make it a reality. So when your mind really believes something to be true, it causes adrenaline in your body that draws the people, the things, and the circumstances to help it become a reality. do you get that? Okay, now I want to tell you a personal story. It was the late 1980s, like 88, 89, or 89 and 90, you know, that era when this happened. But we were living in Oklahoma at the time, and Oklahoma is a part of the oil patch. It's a part of Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado, you know, we call it the oil patch. And OPEC, which is located in the Middle Eastern countries, had control of the oil back then, and they determined the prices. So they determined that oil would sell for $8 a barrel. Well, when they did that, it caused just this terrible, terrible, terrible recession in the oil patch states, because nobody can make any money when oil is $8 a barrel. You can't even feed your family. You can't do anything. So our economy totally crashed, very much like it did during COVID. Except it was a foreign entity that caused it to crash, whereas in COVID, it was the health demands of the country, you know, the health needs of the country. I'm not sure I totally agree with it, but because there were several countries that did really well, leaving their businesses open and everybody wearing a mask. But anyway, who am I to debate economics? So it was really a rough time, because everything we had saved from being in our real estate, having our real estate company, we had a nice savings, you know, where we were developing. We had gotten involved in some developments, and when the economy crashed, it all went to pot. It was just awful. We lost all of our savings. We lost several of our investments we couldn't manage, and we didn't lose our house because we have the homestead law in Oklahoma, and we didn't lose our house, but it was a really tough time, and it was not fun to go through. And so I kept saying to my friends, I would say, I know somehow we're going to build back, and it's going to be bigger and better than before. And they would look at me and roll their eyes and say, you're an idiot, Mo. Nobody can make it better than before in this recession. You know, you're crazy. And for about the first 1,000 times that I said it, people got sick of hearing me say it. I really didn't believe it. I hadn't transferred yet from saying it to really believing it. But the difference between me and some of you is that if I haven't believed it, you know, and I've said it 1,000 times, then I'm going to commit to say it another 1,000. So one day I wake up, Richard wakes up, and I look at him and I say, you know what, Richard, we really are going to build back and be better than ever before. And he rolls his eyes at me, and I just didn't pay any attention to him, and I just kept saying it because that's when I really believed it. Now listen to this. 2 weeks to the day after I believed it and told Richard that, a man by the name of Gary Keller found me accidentally and called me. Now, he started calling me about 3 or 4 times a week for weeks. And I knew, because I believed it, that I better listen to this guy that I'd never heard of before because there might be opportunity in what he's telling me. Now, if I had not changed from saying it to actually believing it, I would not have listened to Gary Keller. I would have sloughed him off like you do on all these crazy calls
What?
you get.
Why are my headphones not freaking working?
Oh. Oh, Mo, you're on mute.
So I would have missed the opportunity if I hadn't gotten my mindset right, if I hadn't moved from saying it to thinking it. Do you hear that?
I think that's a pretty big mindset shift to put you where you are today in a relationship that's pretty important in your life.
Right, because I get calls all the time. You know, these calls that just drive me crazy. And when it's somebody I don't know, sometimes I hang up and I just don't talk. And that's what would have happened to me if I had not believed that we were going to build back again, because he kept talking about the history of real estate and he kept talking about the future of real estate. And finally, after several weeks, he got down to the real reason he was calling me. He had heard about my training program and he wanted me to come to Austin and talk to him. Excuse my neck, I'm sorry. He wanted me to come to Austin and talk to him about my training program. So changing your mind and then really believing it is really, really, really important if it's something you want to accomplish. Now, I want to tell you about another call that Gary gave to me in our getting to know each other. One day after we had talked for several months, he called me and he said, Mo, I want you to fly to Austin and I want you to come and meet with us because I've got a consultant coming from California to talk to me about possibly taking Keller Williams across the United States. See, he was only in Texas when I knew him. He had two offices in Austin. He had, I think, 3 or 4 in Dallas, and he had 2 or 3 in Houston. So here I am. We've lost everything but our house when he makes that call to me. I don't have enough money to put food on the table, much less buy an airfare to Austin, pay for a hotel while I'm in Austin, and buy my food while I'm in Austin. Anyway, he said, Mo, will you come? And I said, yes, I'll be there. And after I hung up the phone, I thought, what have I done? Because I don't have the money to go. And that afternoon, I went to my mailbox, and in my mailbox was a credit card that some company had sent me. And it gave me, I think, a limit of $1,000 or $1,500, something like that. I want you all to know that I activated that sucker and I bought me an airfare ticket to Austin. I paid for my hotel in Austin and I paid for my food. I didn't have a clue how I was going to pay the credit card company off, but I knew I would at least get to Austin. And I thought if my mother and father were living, they would get on me like crazy because, you know, they didn't believe in credit cards anyway. And you certainly didn't use one when you didn't have any money. But you see, when your back's in a corner, you tend to do what you have to do to get the job done. Well, on the second day of that meeting, they showed the models of Keller Williams Realty. Well, the first one they showed was the ALC model. Well, in my own real estate company, I had an ALC. I didn't call it an ALC, but it functioned exactly like Gary wanted his to function in his company. The second model they talked about was the economic model. And I recognize Gary's economic model as being much better than my economic model because I thought, you know what? When there's a recession or things go bad, you're still going to keep your cappers and your top agents. You might have a lot of newer people leave because they can't sustain getting started. But this is almost recession proof. And I got even more excited. And then I learned about the third model, which was the profit share model. And I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. That concept was now in real estate because it's the most amazing gift that Keller Williams has. And I'd love to have a call with you if you need to be pumped up a little bit about profit share. So that evening, I go up to my room in my hotel and I call Richard and I say, "Are you sitting down?" Well, he knows what that means when I say it. He knows, oh Lord, what is she gonna do now? I said, "Richard, I'm gonna open Keller Williams in Oklahoma as a region. Gary doesn't know it yet. I'm going to tell him in the morning. That's what I'm going to do." And Richard says, "Mo, where are you going to get the money?" And I said, "I don't know. I know we're broke. We don't have any money. Can't even pay this credit card off that I used. But I was born to do this, and the money will show up somehow, some way." Well, the rest is history. Now, I had a mindset that even though my circumstances were horrible, that I could do this, even though the alligators were nipping at our feet. Are you with me? I just knew I could do it because I got the economic model. Man, I loved his economic model. And I got the ALC model. I'd been doing that for years. And guess what? I understood how much synergy the profit share model could create because I profit shared in my company that I eventually sold to Merrill Lynch. And I want you to know we profit shared 2 levels. Because we didn't have computers to do it 7. And so Richard, you know, nearly fainted and fell out of his chair and thought, I can't corral this woman. She's determined to do this. I came back to, Gary came to the meeting the next morning and I stuck out my hand and I said, "Gary, don't talk to me anymore about a training program. I'm going to open Oklahoma as the Keller Williams region." He said, "Mo, I don't even have a document. I haven't had my lawyers drop documents yet." And I said, "Well, you don't need a document in Oklahoma. We don't require that. What I need from you is just a permission letter saying I can use your models and systems in the state." And we went we went to business on a handshake. That moment.
So Mo, you said that that was a mindset for you. Do you think it was also you were drawn to the mindset that Gary had? I mean, is it one where
Well, I was drawn to Gary's intellect. And I thought, you know what? This guy dreams it up. And I'm one of the best implementers in the world. I can't really dream it up like he can, but man, I can go get it done. I'm a mover and a shaker and a doer. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So I saw how compatible the two of us could be. And that's what happened. And that's why we pulled the company out of the gutter, got it going, and got it really stabilized. We grew it, and Gary would dream up stuff, and man, I'd go run over and get it going. I just couldn't dream it up. See, I knew how to implement his culture. Now, he actually designed the culture. He actually created the 4 cultural pillars, while I contributed to one or two of them. One of them I helped do, and another one I contributed to. But he's really the one that built those 4 cultural pillars. But see, I'm the one who knew how to make them come alive in the company. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I think myself and everyone else here was so grateful for that credit card that came in the mail that day.
Yeah, it was a pretty dramatic thing because I never dreamed anything like this would come from it. So truth number 2, when your mind really believes something to be true, it stimulates your senses to draw to you the things you need, which for me was a credit card, the people you need, which for me was Gary Keller, and the circumstances you need, which for me was Oklahoma didn't require a document. Isn't that amazing? And you need these 3 things: people, things, and circumstances to make it a reality. So have you thought about what your story is when you teach this to your kids or whoever, your husband or whoever you're going to teach it to? If you'll teach it one time, you'll learn it. Just listening to me, you won't learn it. But if you go teach it, you will learn it, because teaching is the best way to learn. Okay, you ready for truth number 3?
Yes,
Truth
ma'am.
number 3. And this is just a statement that you really need to believe. To think what you need to think when the alligators are around you is the hardest thing in the world to do. It's even harder than selling real estate, a lot harder. So when you're in the midst of something and those alligators are just reaching up and nipping at you and saying, you can't do this, you don't have enough money, you can't, blah, 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 blah. It's really hard when they're just pounding you, these alligators nipping at your fingers and at your feet and at your legs, to think what you need to think when they're just totally around you. We'd lost all of our money. The recession had hit because of OPEC charging $8 a barrel. Everything was going wrong, sort of like it did last year. Oh, Now, if we can just get them to develop a vaccine for a COVID rash, I'll be home free. I've had COVID, so hopefully that's over. Okay, now then, the last truth that I want to give you, truth number 4.
Mo,
Could you repeat
Yes.
number 3? I missed it. My
Yep, I did
speaker went
too.
out.
To think what you need to think when the alligators are nipping at your heels is the hardest thing in the world to do. To think what you need to think when the alligators surround you. And you know what I mean by alligators. I mean all the bad stuff, like riots and COVID and all the bad stuff. When it's happening around you, the hardest thing to do is to think what you need to think when the alligators surround you. It's the hardest thing in the world to do. You know, where you keep that mindset and you stay strong on what you really think. And sometimes you've got it in your head and you really believe you can do it, and then it'll slip away. Now let me give you truth number 4. Truth number 4. You are not your mind. You are not your mind. Your mind is a part of you. Like your toes are a part of you, your ears are a part of you, your arms are a part of you, your heart inside that's beating is a part of you. And it's all these parts put together that make up the whole you. So your mind's just one of those parts. Now here's the biggie. Your mind should be your servant. Your mind should be your servant, not your master. See, you get to tell your mind what it gets to think. Because during the day, you are bombarded all day long with thoughts. Some come from your own head, some come from the TV, some come from your family, some thoughts come and ideas come from your friends, some come from the bad guy that pokes a bad thought into your head. Some come from the really good guy up in heaven, which will put a beautiful positive thought in your. It comes from somewhere, and there are a jillion places where these thoughts come from. And they're all different. You know, you'll have the thought, you know, I can do this. And 1 second later, a bad thought will come into your head and say, no, you can't, you're not even worthy. You know, where did that come from? Stuff just bombards your head. And the joy is that you get to tell your mind what it can say or think. You get to tell your mind what it can think, and it doesn't have to be your master. See, I grew up in poverty. So during the year that I sold houses, if I got a big commission, I never felt worthy. I thought, I don't deserve this. I didn't work hard enough for it. Well, I forgot about all the deals that I worked my tail end for, and they didn't develop. You know what I'm saying? In real estate, you are worthy and you deserve every single penny you earn. Because in real estate, you really have to work for it. It doesn't drop out of heaven and land in your lap like a lot of people think. So see, mindset, bottom line, is nothing in the world but you disciplining your mind. And boy, you have to do that every day, all day almost. And what is the best tool to use to discipline your mind so that you get a right mindset? Anybody?
Attitude.
I would say, I think attitude is really good because that's part of it. But I would say affirmations. So do any of you have affirmations that you say every single day?
Our team in our office, whenever we do our daily stand-up, we go through gratitude and just discuss something that we are grateful for, either today, right now, whenever.
Well, gratefulness will certainly shift your mind from negative to a positive mindset. That's for sure. That's great. Well, I'm going to tell you a little secret, which I think has been a major part of my success. At the beginning of every year, and I found this in Think and Grow Rich. And I just absolutely love it because I have made up, I don't have them here, but I made up 20 affirmations at the beginning of every year that I believed would help me. And they were affirmations like, I'm going to make X amount of dollars by the end of 2021. I'm going to do this by giving the best possible service known to man to my customers and clients. I am going to read my affirmations once a day for the entire year. And so every morning I would get up, I would read the affirmations every day for once a year. And I'm telling you, it made all the difference in the world because there would be evenings when I would go to bed and I might forget to read them in the evening too, and I'd be tired and I'd think, oh, I'm not going to read them tonight. And then I'd wake up the next morning kind of in a funky mood. But I grabbed my affirmation sheet, which was right there by my bed on this little table, and I would read them again, and that would lift me back where I needed to be. So I really encourage you to use affirmations, and you're just teaching your subconscious to get rid of the negative that comes in because it doesn't know what's good or bad. But your spirit and your mind know. And you need to kick out the bad because it bombards you all the time. You know, I quit watching TV news. It made me so depressed to hear it. So I just turned off the news and thought my mind doesn't need to hear that. And when I watch a scary movie, I actually experience fear, and that's a negative. Fear is not a positive emotion. So I never, ever watch scary movies because I get too scared. I know you think that's crazy, but that's how carefully I try to watch my mind. Okay, we have 5 minutes. Any ahas? Or was this stuff you already knew?
Mo, you are always so inspiring, and I'm just so glad we were given the chance to start off 2021 with you and speaking these 4 truths. So thank you for making yourself available.
Well, thank you. I tell you, I'm just so glad to be above the ground, even though I hurt with this rash. I just am thrilled to be alive because COVID was pretty tough for me. And so I'm grateful to be with you. You have no idea how this energizes me and just is such a positive motivation to me to think that you honored me by asking me to be on the line with you, and you took the time out, I know, of a very busy day, because I see a number of you are actually sitting there watching. It's pretty amazing to me, and I thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you, Mo.
Well, thank
you,
you.
Mo. Hey, Mo,
Yes.
this is Paige Amelie from Lake Minnetonka Market Center. Do you mind if we take a moment and just pray for you over as a group?
I would be so honored. I cannot begin to tell you. Would you do that for me?
Certainly. Heavenly Father, we just want to first of all thank you for Mo Anderson and what she means to all of us at Keller Williams and to this family. And we just ask you to put your hand of healing on her and arm around her to protect her from getting this COVID any further, and just heal her body, heal as she has impacted many people, and we just know that she is needed and she is a blessing to a lot of people, and so just ask you for hands of protection and hand of healing on her, and we lift her up to you in Jesus' name.
Oh, I just thank you so much.
Amen.
Amen.
I just thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm touched beyond belief. I've got tears in my eyes, as you can tell, probably. Okay, guys, a great mindset for 2021. And I just want you to go beat every record you've ever done and have the best year ever. And know how much I care about you, how much I love you. And now I'm going to return the Mayo Clinic's call. Pray that somebody answers.
Well, Mo, we are incredibly grateful and thank you for taking this time, especially when you're not feeling well. We really appreciate all of your time today. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It was really fun. And you guys have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. Thanks,
Bye.
Thank
you.
Here's
Thank
the
you very
goodbye.
much.
Goodbye, kids.
Bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, Mo.